Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we got a great show coming at you. Why? Well, it's the first Friday of the month, which means it's time for our resident Woo Train conductor, R. Keith Andrews, to be back. And we are delighted indeed that he continues with this show. I don't know why, but he does. We're glad to have him. Extra small Lisa Grouse will be in for hour 3. So let's get things going, shall we? Let's kick things off with Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a silver. T-Bone taking in the bronze medal tonight. Kitty Caddywhack, how are you? And Little Cam, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. And when R. Keith is here, R. Keith says, I am not coming on SOR unless Mel WD40 is lubing up my pork chops. So Mel is over at Keith's house right now, lubing up those sideburns as we speak. Continuing on, Thunderhead, how you doing, my friend? And Race Fan, good to see you. Forrest Louie, thank you for coming on in. And who is next? Robert Lamoth, Road Flare, and Paula Fost. How are you? Charlene Skywalker is here. Charlene will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Be kind. It's her first time signing autographs, so she might get a little bit of a twitchy hand, nervousness. It happens. It happens. Just let her flow through it. She'll get it. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. Mama Catherine, there's my girl. Mwah. I love you, my dear. I hope you had a great day. I hope you have a great weekend coming up. Do me a favor. Give little Ava a hug for me. If you don't mind, I would appreciate that. All right, moving on here. God, I love Mama Catherine. She's just the best. Just the best. The lovely and talented Deanna Ann, nice to see you tonight. Redneck, thank you for joining us. And who do we have next on our list? Well, let's scroll on down and say hello to Creepypasta. How you doing, my friend? And who is next? Let's scroll on down. Cowie Snyder is here. And number 42 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. He's really happy today because he did not get traded at the deadline today. So he's sticking with his team. Good job, Lars. Appreciate you. Scrolling on down, up next we have Operation Shutdown, and we have I'm Hardcore over on X as well. Who is next here? Let's see here. We have Integrationing. Nice to see you tonight. Walter Kochabinski, how you doing? Tankella, good to see you. And who is next here? Well, let's keep on scrolling. The Ferret is here. The Ferret will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Henning, welcome to SOR chat. Algaray over on Twitch. 1,500 sideburn lifts to warm up for our Keith Andrews tonight. Oh, I was not expecting that. That is fantastic. I bet you're jacked up after. Oh. I can't even read. Oh, it's Dutch Hank. How you doing? Let's get the radio side going. Good evening and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are just about a minute away from showtime as R. Keith Andrews of the ET Connection gets going here tonight. And we're glad that you are listening in as we continue on with our roll call. Oh, my God. Kathy Evans, how are you tonight? As well as Belledia, my man. Nice to see you. Paramarv, always a pleasure, brother. As well as Panda on Fire. Nice to see you. Virgil, welcome back, my friend. East Coast Turnaround on X. Nice to see you. As well, who do we have here? Scrolling on down. We're running out of time. Mike Jones, welcome to SOR Chat. And Dr. Bob, nice to see you. And we're going to cut that out. I will say hello to everybody else in the chat room via chatting myself. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. There's nothing ugly there. And do me a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have a great show tonight. Regular contributor each month, R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We're going to turn up the woo, not to 10, not to 11, not to 12, but we're going all the way to 15 with the woo tonight. So be prepared. Have your tinfoil ready. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another creepy story. We'll follow that up with Extra Small, Lee Strauss, joining us for the Q&A. All right, R. Keith Andrews is here. He's been doing this show with me for over 10 years each and every month. He comes in to talk about the weird and strange side of UFOs, aliens, ET contact. Keith is a lifelong experiencer on his own who literally now helps counsel people who've had their own encounters with the unexplained. For some, it may be a little bit hard to believe. For others, it makes sense because Keith literally can talk to them about their own ET issues. And whether you want to believe it or not, many people out there are claiming to have extraterrestrial contact, whether it's through abductions or just contact on its own. Sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's physical, other times it just seems to happen, and we don't know why. Let's bring him on in. R. Keith Andrews, the ET Connection. Your sideburns, you're looking fantastic for tonight. How you doing, buddy?
Plugging away. I figured out how to avoid my sideburns getting into trouble. When I go in to get my hair cut, I just tell them leave them alone. Because I kid you not, the last three barbers I've gone to, I said, just tidy them up a little. They removed them completely.
Yeah, we can't have that. We cannot have that. Your sideburns is what gives you power. It's like, if you were Samson in the Bible, it wouldn't be your hair. It would be your sideburns.
Yeah, my hair is more like I stuck my finger in a light socket.
So for people on the radio, if you're trying to figure out what our Keith Andrews looks like, if you took Einstein's hair and matched them with a lord back in the 1800s from Britain or Scotland with the giant sideburns, that's what Keith looks like. It is absolutely fantastic. We love you around here, my friend. And you know, to this day, you are still the most requested guest I get.
Which is weird considering, I mean, I appreciate that, don't get me wrong. But I remember the first time I came on, like you said, it's been a decade. I was coming on as, let's see what happens. Well, I'll tell you, I never even considered it being a decades-long endeavor.
Me either. But I can tell you I've had fun, my friend. And we also want to remind our audience, too, Keith is not a UFO researcher. He is not somebody who plays the UFO game. He doesn't know who's in the field. He doesn't know about the government and Donald Trump getting into UFOs. That's not his forte. He really doesn't care to have that type of knowledge. His knowledge that he gets is from the ETs themselves. A lot of people will look at that and say, the hell are you talking about, Keith? But here you are. And, you know, your stories have always been consistent.
Well, that's the thing. You know, I question my own sanity half the time. But even my mom told me flat out the reason she believes what I tell her, or what I was telling her, was because I don't modify it. But then I don't see the point in modifying it. I figure I have enough trouble remembering what I'm doing, never mind trying to make it up.
Well, that's awesome. That is completely awesome. And, you know, Keith, it is something that, you know, a lot of people will look at this and they'll be like, there's no way this guy is telling the truth. There's no way this guy knows all this weird, strange stuff or has met so many different species of extraterrestrial. It's not a life you chose. It's a life you were given. And yet when you compare what you have learned through your experiences and knowing that you don't spend a lot of time online or researching, when you talk to other experiencers, the one thing that's amazed me over the years is how you have this incredible ability to describe exactly what someone whom you've never met in audience land, their experience. And I think that's phenomenal.
That's what keeps holding my attention is I'll go, this is what I'm seeing, but I can't talk. Uh-oh. This one I gotta take, and Dave, it's my son.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that, you know, that I will say about Keith, and for our radio audience, he just jumped onto his cell phone because every night, Keith is a dedicated father of 2 boys. And every night he makes sure that he says goodnight to his kids. So I love it. You know, I remember seeing Keith when we traveled to Reno, Nevada, and when we traveled down to Paracons in Washington State, where literally he would say, hey, I'm free from this time until 9 o'clock. And then from about 9:15 onward, we could do whatever we want. But that 9 to 9:15, that was his time to talk to his sons. And Keith, I've always admired that about you.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, the fact is, being a father, you choose to be a father usually, but you certainly choose whether you're going to stay one. But like I keep telling people, any male can be a father, but it takes a certain amount of dedication to be a dad.
I would agree. I would totally agree. You know, it really is. You know, Keith, why do you stay out of the real UFO world online? What's happening with the government, the disclosure movement? You know, you're not following who's chatting with who the latest scientist is, the latest breakthroughs. You don't do any of that in this field. I don't. Why don't you?
I don't do that because most of what they're talking about, number one, and, you know, don't take this the wrong way, anybody, but most of what gets talked about is regurgitated, meaning the people don't actually know what they haven't gone through it themselves. So they're just repeating what somebody else said. And therefore, if the story changes for one person, it's got to change for everybody else if you're going to go down that road. Now, I do not mean any disrespect to anybody that follows the UFO community. You know, some of the people I've met there are phenomenal.
Keith, I just want to ask one favor before we move on. I know you're very active with your hands, but it is coming across the microphone. So if you don't mind, I would appreciate that. Now, we usually get to some audience questions. If you're in our YouTube chat or on X, you can type your questions in capital letters. I will get them. So that way I can ask Keith directly whatever you want to know. And Keith, here's one of the things that I want to know. Okay. One of the stories that is coming out recently is that somewhere on this planet, some people believe it's in the US, other people believe it's in South Korea, there is allegedly this giant UFO that crashed, and it was so big that they actually built a building around it. Okay. And apparently it houses this UFO on the inside. Now, I don't know if this is true. A few people have in the UFO world have said this. Have you ever heard anything about this type of craft crashing on this planet?
Yeah, but we are not talking recent. Like we're going way back before mankind got here. There were actually a number of them that crashed, a number of them that landed here. Okay. And yeah, people have been known to literally build cities over top of them. You know, if the UFO in question were that big, they wouldn't put a single building on top of it because it would stand out like a sore thumb.
A big building, Keith.
Oh yeah, if you put a building that size, given the size of many of these UFOs, you're looking at a building that would be at a single building that would be a minimum of 3 blocks square. Not 3 square blocks, but 3 blocks square. You know, that kind of building would sort of stand out in human architecture.
I want to ask you then, okay, how do their craft crash here? I mean, if they've been able to come right across the universe to get here or time travel or jump in through different dimensions, how are their craft crashing? There seems to be a number of these.
Well, there is. And the reason for it is actually kind of comical. When you go to the ancient races inside Earth, they've created a magnetic flux that actually interrupts the mechanical operations of the major UFOs. Which means, much like you get static on the cell phone or on a radio wave, you start firing off that kind of electrokinetic energy, and it interrupts the operational process of the UFO technology. You know, the OTE drive is rather susceptible to it. You know, and for those of you that don't know what that is, that's the oscillator densification of tritranslocation equilarity. That is the star drive of the consortium. And that probably sounded like Swahili, but
No, I don't think it did.
You know, the reality of it is it interrupts them, and therefore, when you also take into consideration these guys are not all at peace with each other, you've got all kinds of interesting problems.
Question coming from Area 54 down in Texas. Keith, can you tell us about what you know about portals and where they connect to?
Well, we've got local portals, which means you've got local connections that have been reported where a person in the United States, for instance, can suddenly find themselves in England with no ID because they were out for a walk. They weren't out trying to travel. So they don't have their passport. They don't have any ID with them. And all of a sudden they're standing in downtown London going, how do I get home? And there have been literally hundreds of cases of this happening, not just from the States to England. And as for where they are, that kind of depends on the day of the week and the moment, because they float. Then you've got jump points just outside the orbit of Pluto that lead to an entirely new star system. Okay, I know the one outside of Pluto, and of course the fact is it's not just there so that you can accidentally run into it. You actually have to trigger the thing. It's kind of like calling for an elevator. Okay, but that particular portal leads to Wolf 235, about 30 light years away from here. And of course, somebody's going to go, well, how do you know where it is? Well,
I was just going to ask that. I was just going to ask that, my man.
That one I've been on. And I will tell you, Hollywood has done a staggeringly good job of showing wormhole navigation. So somebody there clearly has an idea of what's going on. And I know three directors that, in my opinion, absolutely know what's going on.
Von Patrick in the chat room from Edmonton says, Keith, he's so looking to seeing you once again at Caribou Con. It's going to be an amazing weekend. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, folks, don't wait. Make sure you're there at Dave and the crowd. They're all amazing people. Thank you, Von Patrick. Yes, Caribou Con, September 18th through 20th in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are on sale at cariboucon.com. We got great speakers, just an incredible lineup of people talking, as well as our Keith Andrews is going to be there. I'm going to be there. And, well, it's kind of like my event, so I guess I have to be there. But get your VIP tickets. It's also going to include ghost tours at night, UFO sky watches, and for a lucky 10 people, we are going to take them out on a Bigfoot hunt as well in the evening. So we're going to hopefully see the big guy out in the forest at one of our local spots here. But thank you, Vaughn, for the comment. I can't wait to see you again in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, September 18th through 20th. Once again, cariboucon.com to get your tickets. Keith, I want to ask you this before we get to more audience questions, because we are able to kind of look at these portals or these different dimensional jumps. Are there certain areas on the planet that are more susceptible to these instances happening? I mean, because it seems like we have these weird triangles all over the planet. You think of Bermuda Triangle, the Bridgewater Triangle, the Alaskan Triangle. There seems to be these triangles like in the lower mainland of British Columbia that have these black triangles actually appear within these triangles of weirdness. I mean, are there hot spots where these happens?
There absolutely are. And the reality of it is the reason they're there in as a triangle and as a 3-point plan, a 3-point connection, is because you have to have in the third dimension, you've got to have a 3-point balance. Okay. So I mean that's why they're there. But yeah, the three you've mentioned now, I know the location of the Bermuda Triangle, obviously, and the Northwest Passage. But you mentioned the third one there. That is, I take it, is a pretty big one.
The Alaskan Triangle or the Lower Mainland Triangle?
No, there was one that you mentioned right before the Lower Mainland.
Bridgewater
the
Triangle.
Alaskan Triangle, I know.
Yeah, the Bridgewater Triangle is in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. See, I know there's another one. I haven't located it yet. That is over. If you draw a line from Bermuda to the Alaskan Triangle, there's one on the other side of the planet. I think somewhere over in China that balances it. Okay, but yeah, there's all kinds of these little hot spots. Okay, And many of the, if you will, mystical sites like Stonehenge and Machu Picchu, this sort of thing, they are all connected as well. The one I got a kick out of was when I discovered the link between the pyramids and the way the hieroglyphs are used. They're not just hieroglyphics.
What do the hieroglyphics mean?
They
tell a
are
story?
literally another form of long range. Closest energy we're going to work with is electromagnetic energy that literally broadcasts to their homeworld. Now, in the case of the Egyptian hieroglyphs, those are going to the Ennead. The Ennead are the people that humans call the Egyptian gods. And they were a lot of things, but gods wasn't one of them. Although they figured they were.
Okay. I want to ask you about mind control here. A lot of people will say that the aliens try to have mind control over the people they communicate with or take over or abduct. What is your thoughts on this?
Most of that, now there are variations, but the majority of the if you will benevolent ones, the mind control isn't so that they can take over. It's so they can keep you calm, so you don't go and have a heart attack while you're on the table and they're trying to do their experiment, their testing and their sampling. I mean, humans know if you and I'm going to use the term kidnap a tiger. The tiger is not happy while you're poking it, while you're taking, blood samples and skin samples and tagging it. Tigers don't like this, neither do dolphins or anything else. It just hits more poignantly with humans. Humans to humans, we have a little bit of a complication here. We don't like being abducted. We don't like being confined. And this is one of the reasons why, when you take a look at the reticulans, which are the most common of them, if you will, abduct people, that's why they run with the Gedepni. Now, the Gedepni are what you would know as the North Roman and Greek gods. They just went by different names over the years.
Okay. So when it comes to the mind control aspect, are they taking mind control, or are they having some sort of like internet connection where they can send those messages that seem to be telepathic and so on and so forth?
Quite often, number one, mind control, yes, they do override. Sometimes what they're doing is they're trying to get a look through the person's eyes just to see what they're seeing. Okay, it's more like a mind link than mind control. But humans get real edgy that way. Do they sometimes use it as a booster? Certainly. Kind of like in the world of internet. You're getting lousy Wi-Fi, so you buy this tiny little booster thing and plug it into your wall to get a little bit of an extra kick. Humans work like a bio booster. I mean, you got to realize the amount of energy running through the cranial cavity of humans is absolutely mind-boggling. Okay, and yeah, you're gonna love this one. Some of these races do literally look at that brain fluid and at that brain and that emanation as a high-level narcotic.
Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Our first break of the night is brought to you by Caribou Con, so make sure you check it on out. And, of course, our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues. Keith comes in each and every month to answer questions from the audience all about strange encounters with extraterrestrials, monsters, and legends. You can find his YouTube channel, R. Keith Andrews. This is Spaced Out Radio. All right, Keith, we're clear. Hi, Erica Stover. How are you? Blue Cruise asking, why not call Caribou Con Dave's Backyard Con? You probably could, because it's in my area, right near where I live. So, it's Griffin. So, yeah, you probably could. But you know what? You got to get up here to find out. Here. Erica Watson, how are you? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Any plans this weekend, Keith?
Working on book number 10 at this point.
Oh, nice.
Plus, I'm getting very close to finishing off the other ones. I'll tell you, the last 4 years we're just going to ignore. But I have gotten back to writing again.
Good.
It's just been a royal pain in the neck. But no, this weekend I'm doing my best to lay low. Kira did want to say that she does look forward to being here next month. This week has just been brutal, so she needed a little time to wind down.
I don't blame her.
No, neither do I.
Living with you, I mean, that's just dangerous. It's just absolutely dangerous.
Oh, it absolutely is. And let's face it, I'm no joy to be around sometimes. No, it's like I tell people, I make everybody happy. Some by showing up, most by leaving. And I forget who it was, and you mentioned, he made a point of saying he's looking forward to seeing me in Caribou Con. I will be there with my wife, but I do have a very big favor to ask of people. If you recognize me, this is great. Odds are I'm not going to remember your name, so do be certain that you do introduce yourself while we're up there.
That's right.
I mean, I've got good memory. It's just short.
Right. Who else is joined us here? Jerry Lahane, did you see my post with your friend has a book coming out? I don't do book reviews, but I'd love to talk to them about the Galactic Federation. They can email Dirty Filth at bookings@spacedoutradio.com. And by the way, I forgot to announce, Luscious Jewels is now helping out Dirty Filth with the booking. Yeah, she is. Luscious Jewels jumping on in like that. So bookings@spacedoutradio.com. bookings@spacedoutradio.com. Algaray, thank you for cracking me up at the beginning of the show. Man, that got me. 1,500 sideburn lifts. Oh, my God. That is one of the best humorous moments of this show.
Well, it's not very often that I find you getting caught that far off guard.
Oh, my God. That was awesome. Yes. And for people coming up to Caribou Con, make sure you say hello to Kira, Keith's wife. She is an absolute darling. She really is. I love her to death.
Yeah, she's only got one hiccup that people do have to be aware of. It's amazing how many people actually pull this one. But I'll tell them, we're standing right there. She keeps the White King because she's 100% blind. And I kid you not, 90% of the people that see this Once they realize that she's blind, they talk louder.
It is weird.
I'm not sure how that helps, but
I don't know either. Algaray says doing the 1,500 side burn ups were quite a workout tonight. Good job, buddy. I'm glad you survived it. Remember, I want questions. This is a night we get to questions from Keith. This show is all about you guys, so make sure you ask away. Please keep them polite and within radio audience. Lil Cam, Area 54, and Von Patrick, thank you for the super chats. Here we go. We are into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continuing right here momentarily. But first, I want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection is hanging on out with us as he does each and every month, taking audience questions about all things to do with extraterrestrials. And we are going to get a quick question in here, Keith, for you from Zaddy, who is asking, are the Greys offspring of the Nephilim?
The short answer is no. The Nephilim is a term that literally means gods. The Greys are reticulans, and they are, as much as they are corporeal, they're not androids, they're not photocopies, they naturally reproduce. They are, however, egg layers.
Egg layers?
Yeah, they're reptilian.
Oh.
This is one of the reasons why when people say, oh, the reptilians are doing this, I know of a minimum of a dozen races that we call, that are referred to as reptilian. And rest assured, they do not all act the same. But the Greys are definitively not Nephilim. Brilliant scientists, but not that.
All right. Well, let's get to another question here, boss. Let's go over to Aramarv, who is asking, there are theories and stories of previous civilizations before some cataclysm reset the planet. Any information on this?
Well, let's see. We can go back 50,000 years, and when we go back 50,000 years, there was a species here. Well, they were human, okay, but they evolved to the point where they took physical manifestation to an all new level. 50,000 years ago, they colonized Mobius. We now know them as Mobians. Okay, and then 40,000 years ago, they had an interesting problem. They tried an experiment, they'd never done it before, and wiped out 95% of their population like that. Okay, and that was simply because nobody did figure out whether it was a male, female, adult, or child that came up with the idea. But everybody decided to shut their physical heart off at the same time. This did not end well. That's a whole other thing, a whole long drawn out thing. When we talk about Atlantis, Atlantis itself was not a brand new civilization. It was an off-world convoy that got grounded for a while. And the reason we're having trouble finding it is because it didn't actually sink. Although there are remains of the landing docks underneath down in the Bimini Islands. But there have been a number of civilizations that went before current man. we are not as evolved as we've been in the past. This much is clear. And it's usually because somebody pulls something stupid. You know, in the Lemurians' case, it was literally an ill thought out experiment. But mankind has a tendency of wiping out most of itself, and then the remnants, like when the Lemurians collapsed, the remnants of them combined their knowledge with those of the evolving Mayans and Aztecs. And of course, the other species, the other civilization that left Earth was the Anunnaki. Now we are uncovering more and more skeletons, these massive skeletons with like 6-foot heads. These are the Anunnaki. Now, the Anunnaki didn't actually have an advanced civilization per se, although they did have contact with the consortium. And they knew, because of the size they were, they could not evolve hand in hand with modern day humans. Okay, they just couldn't do it. Let's face it, humans are like, at the time, were like 5 feet tall, and these guys were punching 30. You know, there's not much I will tell people is impossible, but I will tell you, I met a guy years ago, I think, that literally claimed to be a naturally conceived half-breed Anunnaki. Now, this would have to mean that a male and female Anunnaki and human got together. There's a problem here. Anunnaki, when they are actually of reproductive age, are 15 feet tall. Now, can you see where there might be a problem of a natural connection?
I would agree. I would totally agree with you. I mean, it doesn't make any sense because the human would or should be much taller.
Well, that would be the other issue. Halfway, you got to be looking at the very least in the mid-range. You wouldn't be looking at 6-foot people.
No, you'd probably be looking at 8-9 foot people.
A minimum of.
Let's get to another question here.
Sure, fire.
UFO Not Radio wants to know, does ET have any hippie lettuce that it passes around for a puff pass?
I like the way you put that. Yeah. Every one of the species that are out there have their own narcotics and their own alcohol systems. You know, and yeah, just like human civilization, they've got their, as you would, you've got your hippies, and you've got your people that are on the other end of the scale, that are way too caught up in themselves, this sort of thing. So yeah, you take anything that happens on Earth, okay, in the human population, you can bet when you look in the history of these people, they've almost all gone through the same thing, usually millennia before.
All right, let's move on, buddy. Let's go over to Karen. Speaking of portals, I was thinking of portals today in relationship to Iran. I think there could be some in that area. I was also wondering about the destruction of artifacts in the area.
Well, as we mentioned, I don't pay much attention to what the political side is, but I will tell you there are gateways, portals, that sort of thing, all around the world. Now, if we go back and we take a look, by the way, as far as the destruction of artifacts, it's a cute concept. It really is. Mankind does not have the technology to destroy most of the artifacts that are available. Heck, they don't have the technology to understand it. But there's been this ongoing rumor that back in World War II, Hitler had contact with the ETs, right? And I will tell you that is absolutely, from my knowledge, absolutely on the money. What they don't tell you is so did every other major superpower at the time, and many of the minor ones.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, buddy. Here we go with another one. Let's go over to Vaughn, who is asking, how many planets do you believe are in our solar system?
I know of at least a dozen. Okay. And I will tell you, like, the normal 9, and we're just going to leave Pluto listed as the 9th. Okay. There is also Vulcan. Well, in all fairness, it's pronounced Vulcan. Inside the sun's corona, it's closer inside the sun's photosphere, which is closer to the sun than Mercury. Okay. Then you also have Cruinia, which does sit between Mars and Jupiter, but it comes in on a 30-degree ecliptic. And then the one that is literally a planet, as far as the whole system goes, is Chiron, which people are calling an asteroid. It has its own setup. Now, here's a neat little piece of information for you. The moon itself has a really, really tiny atmosphere. At this point, it's only about a millimeter deep. Okay, and yeah, I absolutely know the scientists are going to do one of two things. Either, yeah, we've got it, but we don't understand it yet, or no, that doesn't exist. You get to call it as you will. But yeah, and so I noticed somewhere there, we also have to look at, on top of that, there are a number of moons of Jupiter that are occupied. The moon itself is absolutely active, but certainly not hollow. Although it does have boreholes in it.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It can be.
What do you think Planet X is?
That is a starship. It's not a planet. Ultimately, it boils down to this. If that were a planet coming back into orbit, and they talk about it making a 3,600-year circle. Well, here's the kicker to it. If it were a straight planet coming into our solar system, it would disrupt the entire magnetic field. Net result, destroying the solar system as it came through. The only way it could come through, and it is coming, don't get me wrong, the only way it could come through, though, is with a magnet, with a gravitational damper field, to avoid throwing everything out of kilter.
Well, that makes sense. Let's move on, Keith. Let's go to another one. Let's go over to Redneck here, who is asking, what are some telltale signs of extraterrestrials in public?
From now, most of the ones in public, you're not going to notice. But there's a couple of things you watch for. The way they walk is a real good one. Especially if you spot them. Like, if you ever see a Martokian, Martokians are easy to see. Okay. They're roughly human-sized. Martokians, by the way, do live on Mars. They are green-tinged. They are not little. Okay. But they do have reverse knees, which means their walk is going to be a little screwy. But you watch the way these people walk, and the way they look around. They're going to be paying a lot more attention, trying to wrap their brain around things more often than not. Okay? Simply because they're walking around in unfamiliar territory, regardless of the amount of training they go through. Okay, you also may notice a different tinge to the color, to their skin color or to their eye color. One of the most fascinating ones that I saw, well, aside from the Martokian, and people say, "Oh, Pleiadians come to Earth." Pleiadians come to Earth, but you will never find a purebred Pleiadian on Earth. They cannot breathe our atmosphere; it'll kill them. But you watch their interaction. Their diction will likely be a little bit more pronounced when they're trying to talk. Okay. And you'll notice many times their eyes will flip from one place to another while they strive to see how their response is being interpreted or is being accepted. It's just these little quirks. And do understand something very important. Everybody that has a quirk is not alien. And twisted as this is going to sound, every alien is not necessarily quirky, although most of them are a little odd.
Quirky. Never thought I'd hear you call aliens quirky. But here we go. Let's
Some
go
of
to
the best
another.
friends are all good.
Jerry is asking, what will be some features of ET disclosure this year from their point of view?
Non-existent. ET, the off-worlders are not revealing themselves en masse. You do realize if the off-worlders were to do that, it would take the entirety of the human socioeconomic endeavor and completely turn it on its ear. Okay, we've already 10 years ago, 62% of the American population believed they were already here. Your disclosure has already happened. What they don't understand any more than I do is why people are waiting for governments, the ones that everybody says lie to them, why you're waiting for them to say we're having disclosure. This does not add up for me. Doesn't add up for them either. They will make contact with individuals who are what they call worthy. And that depends entirely on what they're looking for, because it varies from one species to another.
Another question we have from Blue Cruise. Any interaction with crustacean like aliens or ETs?
Oh, yeah. They're a lot of fun, but they are a little wet behind the ears. Ultimately, when you're dealing with crustaceans, you got to remember, they don't just communicate with vocals. They have a whole series of communication methods. But many of the crustaceans that we have on Earth, and we refer to them when we're looking at the off-worlders and you call them a crustacean or reptilian, it's because of the similarity of their appearance. Okay. Now, there are some crustaceans that wander around under Earth. Okay. And what I mean by that is we've got 3 layers of Earth. And literally speaking, every planet does. You've got the surface. Then you've got hollow Earth, which is that great big cap, that great big gap between the crust and the core. And then you've got inner Earth, which is your core. But there is a staggering amount of life in what we call hollow Earth. And many of the crustaceans you will find actually have their own little communities. For obvious reasons, you don't see them wandering around on the surface. People get a little edgy.
I can see that happening. I totally can. Here we go with another question, my friend. Let's go to follow up with Blue Cruise again. Do all UFOs use the same type of propulsion system?
Absolutely not. For instance, like you take the Galactic Consortium, and their primary ships are the big black triangles you guys have seen. Okay. They use the OT drive. The Corlock, and you'll love the ship they use because, and I think it was Spielberg that did it, whoever did Space 2001, A Space Odyssey, that ship is a Corlock ship, but it is run on biomagnetic. Okay, the Corlock do not have a physical form per se, so a human will never get inside one of their ships. They don't fit. Okay, but the Corlock run their ships on biomagnetics. Okay, and then you do have the Vulcans, which utilize solar energy, and especially in their case, of all of the Vulcan are actually really, really neat group of people. They rebroadcast, they focus and rebroadcast solar energy to drive their ships. And bad news for you, they also use it to power their weaponry. And the reason I say that's bad news, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of what I grew up knowing as a hellbore laser, which will punch a hole in a mountaintop. The Volkun will do that straight through the core of a ship without even blinking. And this is why I love science fiction movies that show humans defeating the aliens. They make a great storyline and absolutely fantastical. But the one thing I do constantly get asked to reiterate to people is the off-worlders are not interested in conquering Earth. You know, it's got no more draw to them than humans have in infiltrating an ant's nest. Now, yes, children will turn an ant's nest upside down. You know, but ultimately you're looking at a lot of, like, you've got a lot of different systems. When you start looking at the Xenon, they literally run their ship on biomechanical. The Xenon run their ships, and they power them using psychic energy. And when you meet some of the Xenon, it's actually closer to psychotic energy, I think. They're telepaths. So yeah, you've got a wide array of different propulsion systems.
I love it. I love it, Keith. All right, buddy, let's go to another question here. Let's go over to, let's see here, Ashley, who is asking, this may have been asked already, but what did you think of the Comet 3I Atlas?
You're going to have to bring me up to speed on that one.
We talked about 3I Atlas a couple months ago, where many people believed the way it was acting, it might have been an alien ship, but turned out it was a comet.
Okay. Yeah. Again, as we mentioned, there are comets that some of the comets quite literally are young Gaboran, and therefore they may behave in odd patterns anyway. But humans have to put a label on something, so calling it a CI Atlas to start with makes total sense. You need to put a label on it so you can relate to it.
All right, let's move on to another one, buddy. Let's go over to Andromedan, who is asking, Keith, how old do you think Atlantis and Lemuria were?
Well, how old they were before they collapsed? Lemuria ended up, the Lemurian Empire collapsed about 40,000 years ago, but they were well over 1 million years old when they colonized Mobius. As far as the Atlanteans go, their civilization never actually collapsed. Their link here did. In simplest terms, they had engine problems, and their flagship. And when the people from Atlantis arrived, when they met the locals misunderstood. The Atlanteans did not say we're from Atlantis. They said we're from the Atlantia. It was the name of their ship. Okay, now everybody, people talk about the Atlanteans the whole 9 yards, but it was one of 13 ships that set down. This is why there is a lot of controversy around it. It wasn't only one spot.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we only got about 45 seconds. So, Keith, I mean, a lot of people will say that, this whole ET visitation thing is a little bit off balance. In 20-second answer, how do we know that this is for real?
You don't. People are going to wrap their brain around and use any method possible to convince themselves that their life is normal, this isn't happening. because the strange scares the heck out of people. And to steal a line from Wednesday from the Addams Family, okay, or not when, but the reason I don't worry about it is because I am that strange and unusual to start with.
All right, our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues in hour 2. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, buddy, we're clear. I'm going to put you in the green room and I'll be right back, okay? Here we go. Here is my schedule coming up. Be right back, everybody. All right, I am back. Let's get Keith back in here. There he is. All right, Keith, how you doing, buddy? Hold on, I got you on mute. There we go.
That did work well, eh?
Yeah. Let's see if anybody new showed up here. Hi, Coley. How you doing? Yeah, ignore the Vegas dates. I got to change that. Thank you, Paramarv. All right, we're caught up. We got lots of questions.
Yeah, I watched the speed those scroll by, and I'm going, how in tarnation do you do that?
Thank you tonight to our super chatters, Vaughn Patrick, Area 54, and Little Cam. Greatly appreciate your love and support. I don't know if they're playing a movie at the Bigfoot conference. Are you coming down for that, Mike? You coming down? That'd be kind of cool to meet you there, man. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. No ugly swag. No, it's true. There's nothing ugly there. Here we go, Keith.
Okay, I'm good.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Magnality. Magnality is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. We bring in our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. It continues right now, where we take audience questions, learning all about the weird and strange stuff that involves people like you who've had the ultimate extraterrestrial experience. Keith, how you doing, bud?
Not bad at all. I really want to thank the audience for sticking with us.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. They are pretty awesome. Even the ones in Radio Land. We'd love to see you on our YouTube side once in a while just to say hello. So let's get to more questions. Let's start off with Blue here, who is asking, any interaction on UFOs with the Mer people?
Oh, yeah. They've got the Mer folk, are a wonderful group of people. They only have one problem. Well, they had a problem centuries back. When they first tried making contact with humans, they didn't understand the fragility of the human body. And they drowned a lot of abductees quite by accident. At this point, if you ever want to go and see them, all you got to do, these ones I can tell you where they are, because you're not getting them. They're at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Some of them do come to the surface, but the actual civilization is so far down. Humans do not have the technology to get there yet.
Definitely we do not. All right, let's move on to Jules here. Have you heard anything from the off-worlders about renewal of the Earth's natural resources, like removing the microplastics and forever chemicals?
Well, the neat part there is that is just part of the Caboran life cycle. So the Caboran, by the way, is what you know as planet Earth, Gaia, Mother Nature, whatever you will. The Caboran is the planet you're standing on. And every once in a while, she gets rid of all of that by doing something really weird, like having a primordial upheaval. Doesn't work well for the people on the surface, but the planet will be fine.
All right, let's go over to Walter. If the moon is indeed hollow, how could it have such an effect on the Earth, such as tides?
Because of its size. And you got to remember the other thing that you got to look at inside the moon is the amount of equipment there that adds to the weight. Even though it's a hollow planet, it's still giving off its own field. It just happens to be giving off an energy field that mankind doesn't track yet.
Okay. I know nothing about it, so I'm going to take your answer and run with it. Sandra is asking, how many different species of aliens live underground, and do humans live alongside with them?
Number one, I can't even begin to give you a count. But the second question, like as far as how many different species live there, most of the ones living underground are not off-worlders. Most of the ones living underground are ancient races, meaning they evolved on Earth. Okay, and I cannot begin to give you a count. But the answer to the second part of the question, yes, some humans do live down there with them. But those humans stay down there. They don't tend to come back to the surface, which means they vanish out of existence and nobody ever hears from them again. Unfortunately, this does not account for all of the missing people. You know, you got to realize there is an entire ecosystem and there's a complete civilization down there. And
now,
they've got no interest in reclaiming the surface.
Now, didn't you say that once a human goes into inner Earth, they're not allowed out?
It's not they're not allowed out. Most of them don't want to go back. But the ones that do go back, if they're released, as it were, you know, let's say they were trying to get out and they really wanted to go back. Most of the time, there is selective what humans know as psychic surgery, where the memory of how they got into the place is wiped out of their mind completely without causing additional damage. That's a matter of protecting their civilization. Because in case you hadn't noticed, that doesn't go well for many of the primitive civilizations on the Earth. And given what many of these species below the Earth, you know, in Hollow Earth, are capable of, you got to understand, if they were to teach humans with humans' current psychological profile, you would have absolute bedlam up here. Because you got to realize, some of these guys, many of these species interact directly with the planet and or work with what I've come to refer to as true magic. Okay, not just energy manipulation. Humans work with 0-point energy. We literally are born with the capacity to modify reality if you learn how to do it.
How do we do it?
Well, oddly enough, you actually have to believe it's possible, first of all. But the simplest way of putting it, to feel what 0-point energy looks like or feels like, if you guys in the audience take your hands, palms towards each other, separate your hands by about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch, you'll feel some kind of energy. Now, I've heard it described a lot of different ways. That is 0-point energy. Now, some people will call it your aura or heat. There's all kinds of ways of describing it. But when you concentrate on it, you can build a pressure wave between them. Now, I know one chap in particular that will literally, using that, create a shock wave on the surface of a glass of water. And that's been tested scientifically time and again.
Let's move on. Let's go to Paramarv. What's the most surprising thing you've learned from your dealings with the off-worlders? Is there maybe something they didn't want you to know but reluctantly told you?
Well, I don't know if you want to call it reluctantly told me. But when I found out, when I actually came across what I've referred to as as the prime originator, many of you, like, people look at God and go, that's the guy that built the planet. Okay. I came across information from them. From their standpoint, I wasn't supposed to have it. Okay. And the one guy literally told me, he says, you don't belong here yet. I said, well, the door was open. He goes, it was not. And this goes back and forth. And he finally looked at me and goes, you opened the door. I said, well, of course I opened the door, but it was open when I came through it. But I think that was one of the more surprising ones from their end. From my end, when I ran into a reptilian on this planet, on this lifetime, and we came to understand that that was the same one that I had rescued, in my last lifetime. Yes, past lives do interact with each other, and they do have ramifications. I think that was one of the most profound revelations that came across for me.
Jules is asking, what makes the off-worlders sad about humans?
It's the same thing that adults have with their kids. When you see a child doing something that you know is going to end poorly, the off-worlders look at it going, you guys keep down this path, you're going to have a problem. And they're really not looking forward to it. But this is why you get so many abductees and people that are well positioned. They're being told, you got to change your behavior and your treatment of the planet and each other, because it's going to end poorly. Most of these off-worlders, their species have gone through the same thing. Take a look at the Martokians. We get out to Mars, and Mars is a barren wasteland on the surface. You realize it used to be an absolutely flourishing, lush green planet, until the Martokians made the same mistake mankind is making now. Okay, this is what upsets them, is they're watching it going, you can't keep doing this. And, literally hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years have been told, you gotta stop your behavior. The greed and all of this is what's causing the problem. It's not causing global warming, by the way. Sorry, the Kaborian just does that. That's called breathing.
Lou is asking, do you potentially see a more pronounced increase of alien ET presence on Earth in the near future?
Well, if we call near 250 to 500 years down the road, certainly. If you're talking in the next couple of years, no.
Our lifetime?
I'm hoping you're around in 250 years, but I'm not betting my life on it.
Me either. I don't think I'll make it.
The reality is, it's not what people are worrying about. Isn't in the offing. It's too early for man.
Okay. Let's move on. Well, before we move on, why is it too early? What are they waiting for?
Well, two major factors. The one thing that every member species of the consortium have in common is they have a one world government. This does not mean a dictatorship. Okay. But it means that the population is, on the whole, unified. Okay, where they're looking at each other as equals. Okay, regardless of a lot of differences. But that's one of the big things. The other thing is that they're waiting for mankind to, on the whole, operate from an amicable standpoint instead of a greed or fear-based standpoint. Until they get past the fear of their own shadow, it's really dangerous to put them in front of other species that will quite readily eat you just because you're there. Okay, it's kind of like, when adults have kids. Some adults, kid will get mouthy, and the adult will, give them a backhand. And I know that's bad in today's world. But as my mom used to put it, they remember that faster than they remember getting run over. So, we got to understand, humans have, among the different races of humans, have problems with different dietary processes. And that's a simple thing. You're sitting down to dinner, people like different things. The consortium, you would not believe some of their dietary processes. But I will tell you, they don't insist on people eating what they do. Most of the time, it's not feasible.
All right, Keith. Ashley is asking, is there life on the planet Ceres? Are they friendly?
The short answer is yes, there is. The secondary part of that is, are they friendly to who? Because they're in conflict with each other, but they don't have a beef with Earth, if that's what you're referring to. Ceres is loaded with what humans would call Terrian tropes, albeit alien. Terrian trope being something that looks kind of animalistic, but has a bipedal form.
Love it.
And they've got a number of different species living there. But rest assured, it's not just another day in paradise.
All right, moving on, Keith. Let's go to Redneck, who is asking, is there any animals that we are used to seeing that are not from Earth?
Well, I don't know if you're used to seeing them. Well, in person, probably not. That you see on Earth, like that you see on TV. Certainly, your squid, for instance, the squid and the octopus, are not entirely native to here. Okay, people have heard of the Chupacabra. Well, the Chupacabra isn't even from Earth, period. Okay, and then you've got there are some, and you probably haven't noticed them. You probably had an interaction with them quite by accident, and it always ends up fatal from their standpoint. Is the spear knocked in? The spear knocked in look like a button mushroom. Okay, they're not from Earth, but there are a number of them here. And no, they don't have a civilization per se, not by the standard of what humans would call.
Let's move on. Captain K-Rod is asking, what do giants, UFOs, and the pyramids have in common?
Most people believe they exist and totally misunderstand them. that would be the short answer. The giants, there are some humans that were giant, that were strictly human, but were what we would call a giant. Number one in the list that I know of would be Goliath. Pure human, just massively big. Okay, UFOs, the thing we have to realize is there are a staggering number of UFOs out there. But you got to remember, UFO means literally unidentified flying object. So I would say probably as much as 80% of what people see as a UFO has nothing to do with technology. Okay, I mean, let's face it. You see a bird way up in the sky, you can't identify what that bird is. It's a UFO, in simplest terms. When you start looking at the pyramids are so misunderstood because they have a communication network that reaches all the way back to Ennead, to the Ennead homeworld. And no, before somebody jumps on that, I can tell you it's on the other side of at least 2 wormholes. But they've got a repeater relay sitting over on that end. That booster is literally a ship on the other side of the wormhole.
Jerry is asking, as we got about 4 minutes to go before the break, Keith, what about
Okay.
inner Earth people? Do they hate our wars so much that they avoid us?
Avoid, no. Now we gotta separate. Inner Earth people you'll see once in a while come to the surface. You don't want them up here in all fairness. Okay. For instance, back in 2003, you remember that neat little clam bake we had down here in Kelowna?
Yes.
Okay. We had a Holoc here. Now, a Holoc is from inner Earth. Okay. The Holoc is a fire elemental. And this is the thing with the people from inner Earth. You're dealing with the elementals. Okay. We had, there are a lot of them, but they don't hide from mankind. They actually went to inner Earth because mankind, they had their time. Things didn't work out well. So when mankind started to proliferate, the ancient races went, it's all yours, we're moving down here. Sooner or later they'll come back, but they're not coming back to replace mankind. And they certainly don't fear man. See, you got to understand something about the Kaldar. You would know them as dwarves. You've heard of the unidentified rumblings that some people complain about. These people have equipment. They can drop a city out from underneath you. They don't have to worry about taking over if they really wanted it. They just walk up and it'd be theirs. Okay, but they relinquished it so that mankind could have a go at it. That was a deliberate choice on their part.
I see that. Jules is asking, that's wrong question here. Let's go here. Back to Blue. If Earth's currency were to change in the near future, would the off-worlders assist us in the process?
Not in the slightest. How is that for subtle?
Oh, it's very subtle.
Mankind has to, we had to go to a digital currency. It had to happen. You can't get off Earth or off any other civilized planet without a digital currency. Okay. And that's because you can't move that kind of material off the planet and still leave the planet stable. Never mind get off the planet in the first place. So what they don't understand is why humans have all these different, they understand it, don't get me wrong. They understand the concept of it. But most off-worlders, especially when you deal with in consortium space, they deal with time spent as currency, not a coin or a dollar bill or a digital click. And nobody's worth is any better than is worth more than the other person. They may own more, they may have more stuff, but the actual value of an individual's time is identical.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Keith, we got about 30 seconds to go here. How many species fly to Earth? Come visit?
Fly to Earth?
Vacation?
Well, I can't give you an exact number, but literally hundreds of them do. It's just most stay out of the civilized areas for a lot of reasons. Just like you don't like being disturbed on your vacation, neither do they.
Okay. So maybe I'll ask this when we get back, but I want to know, what is the most frequently seen species here on Earth? I don't want you to answer it now, but because we are going to go to break, but we are going to come back with more R. Keith Andrews. We have until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
Let's see here. Ashley has an interesting comment here. Remember she asked about the Ceres question?
Yes.
She goes, my 4-year-old told me she came from Ceres, danced on the moon, then came to Earth to meet her mommy. That is awesome.
To me, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
There are many people that remember a past life more readily than they remember the current one.
Very true. 1 second here, Keith. Because I see Lee in the background. How you doing, buddy? You can pop in if you want.
I am fantastic.
There he is. There he is.
Hey, Keith, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Lee, I'm still breathing. How about you?
Hey, I'm breathing too.
Well, I found out about a week ago now that roughly a month ago I had another microstroke.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, I was sorry to figure it out.
Yeah.
I call it micro because it only affected 1/2 of my upper lip. And by the
Okay.
time I pieced together what had happened, I'd already healed the thing.
Give me 2 seconds, guys. Hello to gorgeous Kim Jellin. Hope you're enjoying your flossing tonight. And she flosses her teeth while she watches the show. And who else joined in here? Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got aliens. There you go. Resist, how you doing? Lee, you can stay in with us if you want.
No, I'll probably back out until it's
Showtime?
time. Yeah.
Up to you. It's up to you. I mean, if we're not good enough.
I was thinking you just didn't like me.
I'm still reeling over the conversation I had with Lauren Fenton.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Good or bad?
Oh, good. It was fine.
She's amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I'm telling you right now, I'm trying to get you to speak at UFOCon there next year.
That's what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We'll get to hang out at UFOCon.
You come up to UFOCon?
I would.
No, UFOCon in San Francisco, Keith.
Okay, going down to UFOCon.
Yeah. Cole Volga, welcome to SOR chat. Oh, look at Lee just jumping out like that. Well, goodbye, Lee. We'll see you in a little bit. His hat tips are getting faster and faster. Dead frickin' guy. Look at this. Look at this, Lee. From Algaray. UFOCon next year just got extra small. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Algaray's on a roll tonight. Algaray's on a roll. He literally cracked me up before at the beginning of showtime while I'm doing the introductions where he said that because he works out before each show. He said he did 1,500 sideburn lifts in order to warm up for our Keith Andrews tonight. I lost it, man. I completely lost it.
In all fairness, to my recollection, I've only seen one other time you lost it that badly. And that wasn't actually on air.
It doesn't happen often. It really doesn't.
No. No, I still think the one that caught and that I enjoyed catching you off guard with was literally that phone call.
That was good. That was good. Hold on, Keith. We're coming back in 30 seconds. Thank you, John Patrick, Area 54, Lil Cam, for the super chats. If you are in the room and you haven't given us a thumbs up yet, what the hell is going on? Get it done. We need 100 minimum for our algorithms. We'd appreciate it. And Algray says, I was going to stop at 1,400, but glad I did 1,500. That's awesome. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continuing right now. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. I hope you're enjoying tonight. I know I am. And it's always better when you do as well. Keith, ready for more questions?
Yeah, fire away.
All right. Let's go over to Cage Cat. Keith, are there mermaids in the Bermuda Triangle?
The short answer is once in a while. And the reason I put that way is because they actually live outside the Bermuda Triangle, but once in a while, a young one will venture in there. And then, kind of along the same lines as humans, you never see them again. See, the Bermuda Triangle is a wonderful place, but it is non-discriminatory.
I think mermaids are pretty much everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's warm climate, cold climate. They seem to be everywhere.
They're kind of like humans in that regard. They just tend to stay underwater. Something about not being able to breathe air for the most part.
I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, they're wonderful people, extremely gregarious. But they do have a tendency of forgetting, at least on first encounters. It's quite normal for them to forget that humans are, yeah, they look very similar to the whalen, but they don't breathe water well. Yeah. And yes, those reports you've heard from people going, "Oh, I was saved by a mermaid." They're not actually exaggerating it. Many of the whalen will bring a human, if it's drowning, back to the surface.
Well, let's get to another one here, buddy.
Sure, fire.
Let us go next to Andromedan. Does the consortium have a jailing system?
Technically, the answer would be yes, but it's a very short-lived one. I.e., with the consortium, let's say you get charged with something. You get charged. You get put in a holding cell. You have 1 month to file an appeal. If you're found guilty, they give you 1 month if you're going to file an appeal, but you got to state you're filing it right then, because by the end of the afternoon of your conviction, you're dead. It's just that simple. So yes, there are innocent people that do get caught in the crossfire. It's not a perfect system, but they do have very strict guidelines on it.
All right, let's move on to another one here, buddy. Let's go to Jules. There is a man that just said that a dolphin world run by Gerald the Dolphin forced him to build things underwater for 3 days. You know Gerald the Dolphin or city building dolphins?
Well, two factors. One, I'm not about to argue with the guy about his claim. Okay. Do I know that there are a number of worlds that are occupied by what appear to be dolphins and other animals similar to Earth creatures? Absolutely. However, I've never heard of one taking an air breather and forcing it underwater for 3 days. For 3 minutes, certainly. Unfortunately, at that point, they usually drown and they're pretty much useless as workers. Now, the fact I haven't heard about it does not mean it does not exist. It just simply means I haven't heard of it.
Okay, let's move on. Let us go next to Super Crazy. With so many different alien species, do they engage in interspecies romantic relationships with each other?
The short answer is yes. This is how you end up with actual half-breeds. Half-breeds are when two different species that are genetically compatible interact with each other in a romantic fashion. But they've got to be genetically compatible. Okay, hybrids are a scientific bridge, not a genetic one. So yeah, they absolutely do. And I'll tell you, if you think people on this planet have trouble with culture differences, try species differences. It gets to be even more complicated.
How come?
Well, if you start thinking in terms of, take a look at the Kaldar. Now, the Kaldar are genetically compatible with humans. But the Kaldar, 90% of their food and drink is fermented. Humans cannot handle that amount of alcohol. And you really don't want to be around a Kaldar that doesn't have that amount of alcohol. Because if you think they're grumpy to start with, take their alcohol away, they're worse. But there are certain species that cannot have romantic relations. The Waylash and the Hollick will never interact and create an offspring. They can't even, quite frankly, make contact with each other. The Waylash are a water elemental. The Hollick are a fire elemental. See where we have a problem. But they absolutely have, you've got friendships all over the place.
Let's go to another one. Back to Andromedan. When will time travel be accessible for the public?
Well, that I'm laying odds, you're probably looking a minimum of 300 years. But there's something you got to understand about time travel. And I get it, a lot of people argue this point. You can only time travel forward. You can already do it. You can get forward in time, but the problem is you can't get back. Okay, so it's already possible, but for the general public, I wouldn't bet on it happening anytime soon.
So apparently there is a little bet going on in the chat room right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Von Patrick, who's from Edmonton, Alberta, home of the Oilers, my hockey team, he'll be traveling to BC for our Caribou Con, September 18th through 20th. He's offered $500 if I let him shave my beard. 500.
Okay.
I told him that I would do it for $1,000 donated to the museum.
Okay.
$1,000. I think that's fair. I'll go on record for that. $1,000. I will let Von Patrick shave my beard if it's donated to the museum. I don't want it for myself. It's got to be donated to the museum. I think that's a fair trade.
It works from my end. I mean, and quite honestly, nice thing about beards, you shave them off, you get it back.
Exactly.
Assuming he doesn't take the skin with it.
No.
That could be bad.
No. I don't want to go like straight like skin. So might have to come to the rules. But I'd let him take it off. Down to a stubble. I'd let him do that. God, am I going to be ugly after that event? Not attractive. Not attractive without the beard.
Yeah, but you've already got a wife, so you don't need to find another one, really.
True. Doesn't take me long to grow a beard, so there we go. I would do it. All right, let's get to another question, Keith. Let's go to Stephen. It's another 3-eye atlas question, so I'll help you out with the answer here. Did 3-eye atlas pass by the sun right where that's
pronounced Yggdrasil.
What's that?
That's pronounced Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil?
Yggdrasil.
Okay, whatever you said. The world tree would have been. Did 3-eye atlas chop down the world tree all them years ago?
The short answer would be no and no. Yggdrasil itself didn't get chopped down. I know there's people that have said it did, but it's still growing pretty readily at this point, so a little hard to call it chopped down. And besides that, the real important factor would be the fact that the 3-eye atlas wasn't around at the time that Yggdrasil was purportedly cut down. I'm not debating whether or not it passed through where the area was that Yggdrasil had been in the first place, but it certainly wasn't around early enough to chop it down. Besides that, it wasn't big enough.
Just like Devil's Tower. Team Stump, everybody.
Yeah, but that is a wonderful little hotspot.
Kim is asking, do the mantid beings have soulmates?
Absolutely, yes. And you're going to love this one. Doesn't matter what species we talk about. Let's go with the mantis. Okay, let's go with them. Their soulmate may be human, because the soul is the operator of the vehicle. By the way, the mantis they themselves are called the Kleeklok. Okay, but their soulmate may be another species altogether. Because you got to remember, soulmates are literally the drivers of the vehicles. Your body being a vehicle. The Kleeklok body being another vehicle. It's kind of like the owner of a Ford deciding to connect with the owner of a Chevy. And then they give birth to a Nissan.
Okay. Follow up from Kim. Is it true that humans without earlobes are part mantis?
No. More to the point, some maybe. Okay. But it's not a giveaway. There are genetic hiccups that happen in humans all over the place. And that's just one of them. You know, my brother knew of a chap that literally was born with 3 fingers, club feet, 1 eye, and a horn growing out of the middle of his forehead. Thankfully, the child did not survive. Because can you picture the kind of nightmare childhood that kid would have had?
Yeah, it's called My Former Mother-in-Law, Keith.
I'm just going to leave that alone.
Let's go to Moodens. Jim Carrey appeared recently looking odd. Has he been replaced? Or did he just visit Mickey Rourke's plastic surgeon? No, that was an imposter. Jim Carrey was on the other side of the world, so he sent an imposter in there. That's simple. That's simple. No, I'm sure. He's Canadian, so he's got to be part alien at least. You know, but he's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan too, so you got to worry about that. Ashley's wondering, do our deep oceans have ETs, specifically the South Pacific?
The short answer is yes. Specifically all of them. You know, bear in mind, off-worlders come and go, and some have set up homes here. Many of the ancient races live under our oceans. Like this planet, what we know about it is so tiny compared to what exists. But yeah, there are quite a number of species that are under our waters.
Are they more along coastlines, or are they more in the in-depth parts?
More often than not, they're deeper in because it brings less attention and less disruption to the surface world. Is realistically the reason they do that.
Okay. So as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking of the movie The Abyss.
It's very accurate in a lot of ways.
So I've heard. Do you think that there are motherships down there that maybe have thousands of intelligent beings? And how do they, with their craft, how do they have the ability to survive the ocean's strength? Whether, I mean, we send something down a couple miles, it crushes metal because of the pressure. How do their ships not get crushed?
Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, better engineering, better material. And you got to remember, these same ships are capable of landing on a planet with 10 times the gravity of Earth. And that's just the weaker ones. But that's how they survive that part of it. The other part that and this is easy to understand, why don't we see them? Well, their technology is better at creating what's the word I'm looking for? A decoy. Okay. Mankind on Earth in Japan has technology that they use on the semis, where they take a picture from the front of the semi and they put that at the back of the semi so that cars can know when to pass. Well, off-world ships have the same capacity of being able to make their ship completely invisible in much the same way. Better technology, better pixel count, that sort of thing. In all fairness, they don't use technological pixels. But that's a lot, because you got to remember. Oh, and since you brought up the Abyss, that whole issue about the blue liquid that he coughs up.
Yes.
They created that to ensure they could get humans down there to talk to them. The short answer is, when they started taking people down, it was fine. They found out very quickly humans don't handle being underwater for more than 3 minutes. They get really panicky after the first 30 seconds. So humans developed the diving bell. And the whaler went, hey, there's an idea. Let's bring them down using a diving bell. Unfortunately, the diving bell was not designed for that kind of depth. So the first number ended up getting crushed. It wasn't until they designed that by the biogel themselves that they could put in and humans could breathe. It's a very similar configuration to the human amniotic fluid that fills a baby's lungs while they're in utero. And yes, they have to cough it and cough it back out when they come up. Some of you have gone through this. Okay, I was talking to somebody the other day that literally went through that. They came up and they asked what all this muck was, if they had to worry and go to the hospital because they had all this blue gel on their pillow. I'm like, no, but you may find that you have some interesting memories to go with it. But yeah, The Abyss was one of those movies that was absolutely spot on what they were showing you.
Let's get to another question. We got 5 minutes left, Keith. Super Crazy's asking, do aliens live their day-to-day lives, waking up, going to work, paying taxes, watching movies, eating junk food, etc.?
The short answer, pretty much. Everything mankind is doing, most everything, that is the same as ETs. They just have better toys, and more complex technology. But they've got many of the same hang-ups, with the one primary exception. They have a one world government. That's the primary difference. Doesn't mean they don't have wars, they don't have conflict. They live their life normal. Well, what humans would call normal.
All right, let's go to Andromedan. Who runs Planet X, Starship, whatever you want to call it?
That would be the Anunnaki. Now, I can't give you the name, sorry. Can't give you the name of half the people that run countries on this planet. But the Anunnaki are the occupants. That was the ship that the consortium built for them millennia back to get them off the planet. That was done by their request, by the way, by the Anunnaki.
Are you sure it's not Darth Vader?
Yeah. Although I will tell you, I have seen those ships. The Death Star, I mean. They do actually exist. And the consortium does control them. And yes, they are literally capable of busting a planet.
We got 3 minutes left. We got one more question from our audience, Keith. Let's go to Vaughn. Keith, I believe that if humans were immediately given the power of telepathy, we would go insane. Is there a learning that comes prior to us attaining this gift?
Ultimately, yes. Okay, but that is mental discipline. And it is something that can be taught to humans. Most humans, because you got to remember, telepathy is not just thought process. You've got to understand the culture in order to be able to try to conceptualize what you're trying to do. But telepathy itself is non-language. It does not require knowing how to speak, for instance, Russian. You simply have to be able to conceptualize what you're working with. And yes, meditation is one of the key factors involved. But regarding if mankind all of a sudden had full telepathy, it would go completely off the rail. Okay, most people would not handle it well.
Why not?
Sensory overload would be the easiest way to put it. Because all of a sudden, you got to remember, telepathy is more actually accurately called telepathy. Because you're picking up not only the image, but the feeling that goes with it. And the emotional overlay of what that person is conveying. And if you don't know how to deal with the emotional overlay, you're in serious trouble. Now, there are a number of people on this planet that know they are themselves empathic. They respond to the way other people feel. Take telepathy and put that on top of it, and all of a sudden you've got a disaster as people's minds literally get torn apart.
Keith, we have about a minute to go here with you tonight. And I always love it when you are here because you make this show so much more fun to do it, especially with the audience participation in there. My question to you before we leave, if Von Patrick in our chat room comes up with $1,000 for me to shave the beard, what would it cost to get the sideburns?
I think that works quite well.
Another 1,000 for the sideburns.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
All right. Donated to the museum. Not personal cash. Donated to the museum.
Donated to the museum, but I mean, the reality is I take money anytime I can get it. So
all right. Well, $1,000 for Keith Sideburns as well. Thank you, R. Keith Andrews. Go visit his YouTube channel, R. Keith Andrews. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we have Swamp Dweller. Then extra small, Lee Strauss will be here. for the UFO report. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. So $1,000 donated to the museum for my beard. $1,000 for Keith's sideburns donated to him. We got this happening. Cage Cat, I will be at UFO Con in San Francisco in 2 weeks' time for UFO Con. So if you want tickets for that, go to UFO Con or CA for California, CAUFOCon.com. Let's see you up there. All right, Keith, we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Absolutely, Dave. And thanks so much for having me on board again.
Love you, buddy. Take care.
Take care.
Be right back. Be right back, everybody.
Check out what I got here. This is really cool. Super freaking cool. This is a death whistle from South America. I think Bigfoot's going to like that thing. Tell you what.
All right, we are back. And let's bring in extra small Lee Strauss. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic, Dave.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice shirt.
Thank you.
New one to the collection?
No, this one I've had for probably about 6 months.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cage Cat, we'll get to see you at UFO Con then. Just bought her tickets. Nice. Nice. Lee and I will do this for you when you get here. All right. 30 seconds, Lee. Swamp Dweller will be approximately 2 minutes, 49 seconds. Thank you tonight to our super chatters, Vaughn ×2, Area 54, and Lil Cam. We really appreciate it. Thank you. We're coming back in 7 seconds. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We have Swamp Dweller and extra small Lee Strauss coming up here momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Magnality. Magnality is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I've always been an adrenaline junkie. So when my friends invited me on a rock climbing trip to O'Neill Butte, you know I could not resist. I heard stories about the area being haunted, but I brushed them off as folklore. But little did I know, those stories would become my reality. We arrived at the butte early in the morning, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease as we started our ascent. O'Neill Butte is a towering sandstone monolith located in the heart of Sedona, Arizona. It's known for its challenging routes and stunning views, but there's more to this butte than meets the eye. As we climbed higher, the air grew colder and the wind picked up. It felt as if we were being watched. Every time I turned to look, there was never anything there. I tried to shake off the feeling and focus on the climb, but it only got worse. That's when we reached the halfway point and everything changed. My friend, who was leading the climb, suddenly froze in place. I asked him what was wrong, but he didn't want to respond. It was as if he was in some sort of trance. That's when I heard it. A low whispering that seemed to be coming from the rock itself. I looked around frantically, but I couldn't see anything. The whispering grew louder and more frantic, and I felt like I was losing my mind. That's when I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. It was a figure, but it was unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was tall and thin with impossibly long limbs and a face that was distorted beyond recognition. It seemed to be made of a shadow and mist. It was moving towards us at an alarming rate. I shouted at my friend, but he didn't respond. I knew we had to get down and fast. I started to descend as quickly as I could, but my hands were shaking, and my feet kept slipping. That's when I felt a hand on my ankle. I knew I was in trouble at this point. I looked down to see the figure climbing to me, its eyes glowing in otherworldly light. I screamed and kicked, trying to shake it off, but it was no use. It was as if it had its grip on me. That was stronger than any rock or metal. That's when I heard a voice in my head, clear as day. It said,
You're not leaving here alive.
I closed my eyes and prayed for a miracle, but I opened them and the figure was gone. My friend was still in his trance, but he eventually snapped out of it and we made our way back down to the ground. To this day, I don't know what the heck happened up there on O'Neill Butte. All I do know is that something evil lurks there, and it's not to be trifled with. I'll never forget that climb and the horror that still lingers in my mind.
Thank you so much, Swampy, for another great story. If you want more just like that, head on over to Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, hit that bell, and thousands of stories there for you to listen to each and every day and night. So, from the swamp to the stars, time for Lee Strauss. We call him extra small around here, Mr. Element 115.
They call him extra small, but he's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call. He's the legend of Element 115. Here on Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
Lee Strauss, it's always good to have you on the show, my man. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent, Dave. Other than getting soaking wet today, I'm doing really good.
Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Are you having fun?
I'm always having fun, Dave.
That's good. It's always nice to be wet, like Lee Strauss. Be like Lee Strauss. Be wet. Be a man.
Be moist.
Be moist. Absolutely. Be moist. Man, it is so good to have you back on the show. A lot of big topics coming on up here that we're going to get into here momentarily. And of course, we'll take audience questions as well throughout this next third and final hour. But you know what? I got to tell you, man, we got a rainstorm happening here right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am like, I moved up here to get used to the dryness and, it's a little arid and dry air up here. When it rains, man, my body starts to hurt. Holy cow. It is incredible how all of a sudden all my arthritis is like, yay, we could come out and hurt Dave again. It's like, oh my gosh.
That's a symptom of just getting old, man.
You know what's funny?
What happens to us?
You know what's funny is my grandmother, when I was about 30 years old, my grandmother, and she's 98 years old now, she says to me, she goes, you need to quit playing those sports. I said, why, Graham? She goes, because you're going to get arthritis really, really bad, and it's going to bother you for the rest of your life. I'm like, nah, Graham, I'm going hard here. I feel good. I'm having fun. I enjoy it. She goes, just watch me. And like 20 years later now, it's like, oh my God, these rainy days. Oh,
it seeps into your bones and your joints. It does.
Yeah. It sucks. It totally sucks. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. Hey, have you been following this weird story going on about the missing UFO guy?
What?
Yeah.
I have not heard this.
Well, here's the story. And of course, I lose it right off the bat.
Right on cue.
Yeah. I know where it is, though. I know where it is. 1 second here. Yeah, my computer just has decided that it doesn't want to help out right now. So anyways, retired Major General Neil McCaslin has vanished. So why is this important? Well, McCaslin was very big into the UFO world. Apparently he went out for a walk or something like that and just disappeared. So His wife put out this statement. Neil McCaslin has now been missing for 1 week. There has been no indication whatsoever of where he might be. There have been dozens of searchers on foot, both official and friends and neighbors of Neil's, who coordinate with official sources. There's also been horseback searchers, drones with different capabilities, helicopters, 3 different types of search dogs, neighborhood canvassing, and looking for ring or wildlife videos. Organizations involved include, I'm probably going to butcher this, so I apologize, Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, which is the lead organization, Albuquerque Field Office of the FBI, New Mexico State Search and Rescue, Albuquerque Mountain Rescue, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, Albuquerque Police Department, and maybe others of which I'm unaware. I'm so grateful to one and all for their unflagging dedication, efforts, and support. I would like to take this opportunity to dispel some of the misinformation circulating about Neil and his disappearance, mostly from uninformed media sources. The initial silver alert from the BSCO mentioned medical conditions, which some have taken to mean Alzheimer's. Neil is at some risk, but not from dementia. He was not confused and or disoriented. There was no concerning Friday. There was no, a little bit of a spelling error here. There was no concerning Friday morning telephone call to a close relative. I have been in contact with all of his close relatives and some not so close ones. This is a complete fabrication. 3, it is true that when Neil was in the Air Force, he had access to home, highly classified programs and information. He retired from the Air Force almost 13 years ago and has been one of the very commonly held clearances since. It seems quite unlikely that he was taken to extract very dated secrets from him. 4, it is true that Neil had a brief association with the UFO community through Tom DeLonge, former frontman for Blink-182 and founder of the organization To the Stars. Neil worked with Tom for a bit shortly after his Air Force retirement as an unpaid, Neil's choice, consultant on military and technological scientific matters to lend verisimilitude to Tom's fiction book and media activities. After the Russians hacked John Podesta's emails, there was less contact with Tom and the community pushing for release of UFO information. The connection is not a reason for someone to abduct Neil. Neil does not have any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash stored at Wright-Patterson. Though at this point, with absolutely no sign of him, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up into the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the Sandia Mountains have been reported. All the thoughts and prayers from around this country are much appreciated. I will update if when any real information comes in. Now, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and talk about that last paragraph. Your husband is missing. Now, I don't know McCaslin. I've never talked to him outside of hearing his name around the UFO world. Don't know his wife, and I don't mean to downplay her words. But your husband is missing for a week, and maybe, just maybe, you're trying to throw a little humor in there just because, you're very distraught and you just need to have a laugh in this ultimately serious situation. But it is odd that she would put that in there, that maybe aliens took her husband.
Well, this could be an inside job, just so other people aren't coming forward with their information right now. Probably to scare the community at large, that people can end up disappearing.
But he really wasn't that involved, though.
But that's okay. Maybe he's just, the sideline person that they decided to make a point that, hey, if you talk about the subject or if you're interested in coming out with it, this is what can happen to you. I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of buzz right now in the Pentagon and among some other people in Congress to where the phenomenon itself, they don't want it out because it dives too much into the realm of, religious sort of stuff. And so they don't want it to come out. And maybe they just used him as a Ponzi or a chess on a chessboard, a pawn.
But there are a lot of scenarios out there that would lead me to be worrisome rather than bringing up the aliens thing. And look, I'm not trying to pick on the lady. I'm sure I'm sure she's distraught. I don't know how she would be feeling at this point. Maybe she was just trying to add a little humor to the levity of the situation. Okay. And I'm good with that. Okay. Because the UFO community is a bunch of nut bars in a good way for the most part. And, and she knows that her husband was an important part of that, even though for a short period of time. But that being said, I mean, just to vanish? I wonder if David Paulides is looking into this case.
Oh, I don't know. Usually he doesn't take on cases that are this fresh, does he?
Sometimes he does. Sometimes he does, but it's just weird.
It sounds like where he must have, or where he was living must have been seriously in a rural type area or setting. Very rural.
But if an animal took him, let's say a bear or a mountain lion, there'd be traces.
Oh, yeah. The dogs would pick up on that.
Dogs would pick up on that, ripped clothing, whatever. If it was, if it was somebody holding him for hostage, you would think that there would be some sort of ransom form or his bank card or credit cards would be used if he took his wallet with him. Okay. Some sort of note or something.
But if he was thrown in the back of a black SUV, the dogs wouldn't find it. They would find nothing.
It's a weird situation that I'm watching. I find it just completely in awe of how this is breaking down. And it's very, very weird indeed. Moving on. Are you surprised that the minute the situation in Iran started, that all of a sudden the UFO story just disappears?
That's the way with anything, really, though, Dave. When you get all this news that comes out about something major, I mean, it just takes over the news. I mean, so everything takes a backseat. The Epstein files took a backseat. The UFO story took a backseat. And, quite a few other stories did as well, because it's the big thing right now. It's the major thing where there's loss of life, and there's, things could go south pretty darn quick if we're not careful over there, right? So I think everybody's attention is on that for that reason.
Here's what bugs me, Lee, and I kind of put a post up on X about this. It's amazing how clear the military video footage is of the interactions and the targets that they are hitting in Iran. And I'm not getting into the political side of that because we don't do that on this show. I'm just concentrating on the videos. The videos are nice and clear. Sometimes they're in color. Other times they are in black and white or like a tan color sort of thing. But they're very clear. They are very, very image filled, whether it's of an airplane being hit or a building that was housing these horrible people being hit. And then it comes to UFOs. It reminds me of when I was a kid, a long time ago, little Davy. You know, we only had 3 channels. Every television had rabbit ears. And in order to make those rabbit ears work, sometimes you'd have to put a little conspiracy tinfoil on it when tinfoil was still tinfoil and not aluminum, or as the Brits say, aluminium. And yet, this is the grainy footage we seem to get, that 1970s, early 1980s footage of these UFO videos, you know, which shows nothing clear, blurry parts all over the place, kind of faded, little blackish, definitely distorted. It's
sure
terrible.
they're doing. Dave, I wonder if they're doing it on purpose. Even my videos that I've taken, of course, I don't have the equipment the government does, right? But my stuff doesn't really look any better than their stuff, which doesn't make any sense to me. So they're not using consumer grade electronics and equipment. You know, they're using multi-million-dollar stuff. So they must be like post processing some of this stuff and downgrading the quality.
I think the videos are being downgraded. And look, if these are alien craft, if they are, which I'm starting to, and I hate to be the spoiler alert here, but I'm starting to believe that a lot of these videos are not alien craft. I believe they are UAP, but not UFO. I think that the reason why they're a little muddied is to kind of maybe hide some of that technology, Lee, to hide some of the toys that are out there trying to see what's going on. But if they are UFOs, like Vaughn says in our chat room, we don't know what anti-gravitics would do to film. We've allegedly never, we don't have it allegedly. So maybe due to anti-gravitics and the way how quickly the vehicle is flying, that we can't get a clearer shot than that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about anti-gravitics and how it would surround a craft, you're going to get distortion around the object that you're looking at. It's going to bend the light a little bit, in the peripheral, and that's actually like atmospheric lensing sort of thing with the gravitational. It's like where you can see a star at the edge around the sun because the light is actually being bent around the object because of its gravitational pull. This is something that's happening with these craft as well. So it makes things fuzzy. When you get a super clear image of a UFO, you have to wonder what the heck is that? Because with that kind of power, with that kind of anti-gravity that it's using to move around, you're not going to get crisp, clear edges. Things are going to get distorted. So the clearest stuff that you see could be AI or CGI or something else that's maybe, UAP that's made by humans. So that's what I think.
Could very well be. And thank you for timing yourself out perfectly there as we are going to go to break, take our final break of the night here on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, it's an anniversary of sorts for a weird looking creature. We'll tell you next. This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott. All right, we're clear. We are clear. Clear as day.
Clear as a bell.
Clear as a bell. Clear as day. Clear as day.
Man, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow, I get to go hiking.
You look like a hiker.
Mm-hmm. But it's called, the trail is a I'm not going to say the full name, but it's Skookum. It's called a Skookum, the trail name. And
Skookum. Skookum.
yes. So you know what that means in the native tongue?
Skookum?
Mm-hmm.
No, I do not actually.
It means monster.
Oh, really?
Or evil spirit.
Really? I did not know. To be honest with you, because it's a weird word in the English language. I knew it was First Nations.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know the meaning of it, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I'll be out there with my feelers on for sure.
Good.
See what I get. No, I'm not in BC. I'm in Washington State.
But Lee will be up to British Columbia a couple times this year.
I should be, absolutely.
And
one time for sure.
And I know where he wants to go.
Yes, sir, I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know where I want to spend the night?
Yeah.
Yeah, out there. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want you to do that, dude.
What if I go back to the main road?
Well, remember where I showed you on the main road?
Yeah.
Well, I would camp there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about...
I would totally camp there. I think we would get something there.
Yeah. And you know,
because walking distance, it's only about 2 miles.
Yeah.
Okay. 2.5 miles. And if the Sasquatch there, I think the Sasquatch there would follow us.
Yeah, because we go in, mill about during the day and part, like till 10 o'clock, and then head out to the main road.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally do that. Totally do that.
I think that's a good idea. Are you taking that week off?
For Paracon or CaribouCon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Around that time. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I do fear, there's a question from Vaughn. I have fear, but it doesn't come up just because ET is around or ghosts are around or Sasquatch is around. It happens at certain times, and it's not always because of one thing or another. It's something inside me that tells me to get the hell out of there. It's not every time. Not every time at all.
We have to do something first here. Our resident security dog, Lola, it's her fourth birthday today. Oob to Lola. And that's Joe's dog. She's our resident guard dog. Happy birthday, Lola. Happy birthday to you, Lola. Happy birthday to you, Lola. Happy birthday, guard dog Lola. Woof, woof. Happy birthday to you, Lola. I love that dog.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Yeah, I've never been scared of spirit activity at all. I felt something on me that was that kind of thing, nasty, but it wasn't scary. It was more like, I need to get this thing off of me.
We got about 40 seconds.
Sweet.
Bonjour, Sylvain. Comment ça va?
Yes, Jay, Truth Seeker, that is true. If you're going to be up, I will be there.
So far from the chat room, we got Vaughn coming. We got Jay coming. We have Cage Cat and her friend coming. That's just from the chat room. We're coming back in 10 seconds here, buddy. Joe, give her a big scratch on her belly from all of us. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight it's a Q&A with Extra Small Lee Strauss and myself, Dave Scott. And an anniversary just passed, my friend. It did. On March 3rd of 1972, now, Lee, you were about what, 35 back then?
1972, my friend. I wasn't even born yet.
You're a 73, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
I'm a 73 too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a 70. You know, you look much better than I do. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie. You're much prettier than I am.
Well, I don't have this loveliness that you got going on here.
Well, I know you don't have the beard, but that's okay. You're still.
I don't have the hair you have.
Hey, man, I have to pray that, I have to pray that people see me for my radio voice and not the facial features. That's for sure. Right. But there was an anniversary on March 3rd, 1972. And it happened in Loveland, Ohio. At 1 o'clock in the morning, and this is thank you to Creepy Acres Facebook page. I love this page, Creepy Acres. So they don't follow us. We follow them. But if you ever want unique, weird stories, Creepy Acres is fantastic. So 1 a.m., March 3rd, 1972, police officer Ray Shockey was driving his patrol car down Riverside Road, East Kemper Road, which is snaking along the banks of the Little Miami River. Icy conditions forced him to travel a little bit slower than usual, and as he was nearing I believe this is called Twittwee Road, he spotted what he initially believed to be a dead or injured animal on the side of the road. Before the officer could react, this animal then suddenly stood up on two legs and turned to face him. Now, the animal was illuminated by the patrol car's headlights, but the officer said it was standing about 3 to 4 feet tall, 60-pound bipedal creature with leathery skin, webbed hands and feet, and a frog or lizard-like face. Instantly, this bizarre beast bolted across the road. It leapt over the guardrail. It scrambled down the embankment and then plunged into the waters of the Little Miami River. Unsure of what to do, Shockey returned to the police station, picks up a fellow officer named Marcus Matthews. The two then returned to the scene to investigate, but found no evidence of the creature, just some weird markings on the guardrail and scrapes along the shoreline leading down to the river. Now, this wouldn't be the first or the last sighting of the Loveland Frogman.
Now, are you bringing that up because of the three-toed impression?
No.
Okay.
No, it's the anniversary.
Gotcha.
It's the anniversary. You're talking the three-toed impression that we found.
That's correct.
Yes. No. So explain to people what we found back when you were here in September.
Yeah, so we went up to this one location where Dave likes to sit and watch and walk around and look for footprints and Sasquatch type stuff. And I was just walking around looking down, and there was some mud, and so we're looking for prints and this and that. And then we found this large, I would say it was probably a good size 18 impression in the ground of a three-toed print. And the three toes were splayed out like you had, a left and a right, and then there was one in the center. And these toes were huge. They looked very reptilian. And there was just one print. There wasn't anything in front of it or behind it.
No, it was pretty creepy.
Yeah, very, very creepy. I mean, a lot of people will find one Bigfoot print or, one print of whatever type of cryptid, and then that's it. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Even the ground behind and in front of this you would have left an impression. It wouldn't just be that one spot. But nothing. I could find nothing. So I don't know what to think about that. Did somebody drive down the road and say, "Hey, I'm gonna put a weird print here"? I just don't know.
I don't know either, man. It's one of those prints that just makes you scratch your head a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there has been reports of this type of print around. Oh, there, you pulled it up.
I brought it up on our screen here for our social media audience to see.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, Dave, that this print could be something similar to what other people have seen in the ground at different locations outside of caves and that sort of thing back east. I wonder if is this just another cryptid that we haven't discovered yet, that's maybe not as common as Bigfoot.
I've had a few people look at this and the first thing that they notice, the first reaction is bear, because there are grizzly bears and black bears in that area, but there are no claw marks.
Yeah. Yeah. And it almost looks like, to me, it looks like the mud is pushed up in the back to where there would be a heel. So I'm thinking reptilian at this point in time.
I don't know. Could be.
Have you heard of any? I mean, there's lots of swampy areas up there, Dave. There's tons. It seems like everywhere we were at, we would be close to water of one type or another, marsh, lakes, you name it. So is it possible there is some sort of a reptilian out there? Have you heard of anything like that?
Could be. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. We have seen UFOs out there. Now, I think I told you this story. I wasn't sure, but we actually had a very cool UFO sighting out there a number of years ago. I was leaning on the front of my buddy's truck, and literally it's just starting to dim into dusk. The sun is starting to set, so he's got that nice, not dark blue sky, but that nice darkening blue from the daylight. And we're looking down the road, the road to get in. And all of a sudden I see two bright lights. And then the third one appears to make a triangle. And I said to my buddy Mike, I'm like, look at that. Do you see that triangle? Like, there it is. It's sitting right there. He's like, and he's looking at it. He's, what the hell is this? And God is my witness, because, everybody in our field is like, well, why didn't you take a picture? Right? The minute I went to bring my phone out of my pant pocket, okay, I'm like, I'm going to get this. I'm finally going to get this picture. Two of the lights went flip, gone. Like they knew I was going to be taking a picture. And then the third one faded and dimmed. Gone. And I was like, you sons of guns. Like, here I was all ready to finally take a picture because I always get ribbed. How come you're not taking photos? How come you're not doing that? Right?
That's the game they play. They know when the camera's on them. They know. I don't know how they know, but they pick up on it. Probably through our thought, because our thoughts are energy, and they're picking up on that. So they know what you're doing, and they know when they want to be captured and when they don't. So, but maybe you're onto something there, Dave. Maybe that print that we captured is not of an earthly being or something like that. Maybe it's an extraterrestrial. Maybe they were, yeah.
In that one area over the years, we have found prints from 9 inches long to 19 inches long. 19 inches is the big one. This one, I believe, was at 15, 16 inches that we found. We've found 17-inch tracks there. We found 16-inch tracks there and 15-inch tracks there. Like, it is a highway for animals there. It really is. Not just for Bigfoot, but for other animals as well. Okay. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of deer, grizzly bears, black bears, wolf packs wander through there. Moose wander through there. A lot of deer, mountain lions, like everything is in that location, just like Flight 21. So, I mean, the only difference between this place and Flight 21 is, this area is probably the size of a couple of football fields.
Yeah. It's like where they cleared out a bunch of trees and there's slash and burn piles scattered up there in that area. It's like they were going to be making other roads to go other places, and they just kind of started cutting down a bunch of trees and just left everything lay in big piles.
Could be
for whatever reason. But yeah, it's definitely, a spot where there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of traffic as far as the animals are concerned. So you never know if something's hiding behind the slash pile waiting for something to, go by. That would be a great area for an ambush.
At least it's not as claustrophobic. And that's the spot. So if people are coming to CaribouCon, September 18th through 20th, tickets on sale at cariboucon.com. A lucky 10 VIPs. You have to be a VIP package. I'm only choosing 10 people. So when Lee is on the other side, actually, you know what, Lee, you could come and do the Skywatch there.
I can.
For 10 lucky people.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do that Sasquatch area.
That would be a creepy spot to do a Skywatch. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'm not taking, and no offense, I'm not taking anybody up to Flight 21 that weekend. It's too far, and you need time out there.
You need time, and I think you don't want 10 people, 12 people out there at one time. It would be chaos, I think, in that location. Not to mention just getting in there. You have to have a seriously good off-road vehicle to get through that one area, that one spot.
That is very true. Very true. Your idea, though, in regards to, getting back to the frogmen of Ohio, there were other sightings, but, it makes me wonder, like you mentioned, the print of that 3-toed creature, whatever it was that made that in the forest that we found. Well, you found it. I was kind of like, holy cow. I'll give you the credit because you're awesome that way. But it always makes me wonder, my friend, why one print? Why never a track of prints? It's usually just one. And I don't think a lot of people understand, that creature had to get there to make that print from somewhere. And if the ground is that mucky, the next step, as it was going towards the softer ground, There should have been a second, third print there, and yet there
Yeah.
wasn't.
No, it makes me think that in some way it's able to slip from one reality into another, or shift, maybe not in another reality, but shift maybe in time even, right? So I don't know what they're capable of doing that way, these type of creatures or Bigfoot for that matter. But I've always been interested in trying to figure out what kind of device I would need to get to see where these slips are in our reality. But, so far I've never come up with anything, and I've been thinking about it for years.
It drives me nuts. The
Mhm.
other thing too, and I was talking about this on WPHT in Philadelphia before the show. And one of the things that I love about this field, one of the things, let's pluralize it there, Dave, is when you get these one-off creatures. Like Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com gets a lot of these reports where it's just one creature, man. It's one creature, that gets seen, and it's weird. And maybe it's a 7-foot tall duck-billed platypus. Okay. Why do we say duck-billed platypus when all platypuses have duck bills? I don't know. It's a platypus. Okay. Just a pet peeve there. But I look at that, my friend, and I think, like the frogmen, or you get, what's that metal one that was seen?
Like that robot thing that was
Yeah.
seen, that was spewing the gas and all of that, as
Yeah. Stanton
guy was up in
Friedman
the
looked
tree.
into that
Yeah.
one, and he loved that case. Why am I drawing a blank on the name? Cryptids like that, or robots or aliens like that are just seen once, and then they disappear. The Kentucky goblins
Mhm.
happened there. Saw once and then disappeared. These one and dones are so amazing, man.
You've ever heard of the bubble universe theory?
No, tell me about it.
So one of the theories is that there's all these different universes that are just like these big bubbles that are floating free in this, electromagnetic reality that we're in, right? And sometimes they bump into each other, and they kind of phase into each other, and then they phase out of each other, kind of like a lava lamp, basically. With the things behind me, with the the goop kind of coalesces, and then it separates, and it does all this weird stuff. Well, there's a theory that universes are doing the same thing, and sometimes there's crossover, right? And you may experience a slip in time, or a slip in reality, or even a slip in dimension, on occasion. So these slips could create these situations where we see reality change for a moment, or whatever happens. We know this, we're not in a stagnant reality. Things are always changing and moving, and that sort of stuff. So that's what I believe is happening. There's still a little bit of magic left in this world, and from time to time we get lucky enough to see it.
And that's the beauty of what we do. Like, a lot of people will say, what are you doing going after these creatures that don't exist? The skeptics out there, you're just wasting your time. Okay, well, you sit in your house, okay, that you've never been in. Most people have never been in a forest as deep as you have been, or I have been. I mean, hey, it's easy to drive a gravel road, but when
Right.
you have to take a goat trail in order to get into Flight 21, or you need to, get into some more tighter areas or deeper areas of that forest, you make the sacrifice and you go for it. It's intimidating out there. It's scary.
Yes, But there's a difference between some of these locations. Some of these locations, Dave, we see where the veil is thinner, and it's always thinner in that one spot. We don't know why. And then you see these areas where the veil was thinner and it moved on, and it's not there now. You know what I mean? So these things, in some cases, are stagnant, and sometimes they're on the move. And detecting those areas and those locations is something that I'm still trying to figure out how to do.
Well, that's why we keep seeing these hot spots all over the place. You know, like Skinwalker Ranch is a hot spot. That whole area in Vernal, shout out to Channel 94X and Charlie out there for carrying our show in Vernal, Utah. Okay, that's a hot spot out there. You know, we know Arizona has some hot spots. New Mexico has some hot spots. Northern Texas has hot spots. Even Southern Texas with the Brownsville Lights has hot spots. There's hot spots all over the place where these things just seem to pop in and pop out. Add the triangles to it, you know, the Bermuda Triangle, the Alaskan Triangle, and all of the triangles in between. Then when you throw in, say, these areas where, you know, if you talk to First Nations or Indigenous people, where they will tell you that there's like portals that open up to inner Earth in certain spots, you know, and they stay away from them. So there's all of these things a little bit that add up a little bit to the high strangeness of it all, my man. We only got about 20 seconds left. You get your final word.
Well, you know where I like to go, Mount Adams, you know, the Gifford Pinchot, and then Mount Baker. Those are my hot spots right here in Washington. So they're around. We just need to know where more of them are, I guess.
Well, Lee Strauss, thank you for a great show, my friend, as we say goodnight to Lee. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Lee.
Oh, it's fun. I love it. Love it.
That's because you're awesome.
Oh, no.
You are awesome. Your fans told me so.
I've got them put away for the summer. For the winter, anyway. Yeah, so, you know, you think about like David Paulides and all these missing people and all this stuff, that things disappearing, and I'm wondering, like my socks, like your socks, you know, that people are either being pulled into another location by something, or they're walking into it unknowingly, right? And there's plenty of stories out there where people have gone somewhere and then reappeared, and now they've got all this facial hair, and they, were gone for a couple of minutes, but time for them has been different. Like they've been gone for a longer period of time.
I would agree with you. That's one of the weird mysteries that I love, man.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember that guy, that skier? Oh, you're watching this.
I just put it on. I haven't put it on in a long time.
My buddy Tom Sanger watches this a lot too, because he's actually caught some objects in the background in the sky.
That's cool.
At night, yeah. But yeah, so I'm wondering if there's a way to capture or to see where those slips are. And maybe some of these creatures like the Bigfoot and that know how either to manipulate it or to know exactly where they're at so they can slip into them.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
Could very well be. I mean, it's a good theory.
Yeah, we just don't know, right?
I would like to know, like in that scenario with the skier that you were talking about, that the Canadian skier from Toronto who disappeared on a mountain in like Vermont or New York or someplace like that, and 5 days later was found in California, hitchhiking and picked up by a trucker
with the ski boots still on.
Yeah, and no money.
Right.
Had to borrow money in order to buy a cell phone to call his wife.
Yeah.
I would still love to know what happened in that case, because the guy was the guy seemed like a legit guy. I think he was like a firefighter or a fire chief or something like that.
Yeah, you'd sure like to have him on your show to talk with him about.
Yeah, that guy just kind of vanished. Back to normal life, that is, not like disappeared.
Right. Yep. Very peculiar things, my friend.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, my friend, I'm going to have to get up super early tomorrow for this hike. So
yeah, you get going. Go get some sleep, and we'll chat with you soon, buddy. Thank you for joining us.
Good night, all.
All right, buddy. Take care. Hey, Lee. Have a good one, buddy.
You too.
All right. It's just you, me, and the Namibia cam. Love the Namibia cam. And the wildebeests. Lots of wildebeests around there. I wonder if we'll get like the ostriches coming in or the giraffes. That'd be really cool. My favorite are the oryx when they're around. All right, let's see if this is ready to edit yet. There we go. Well, thank you, Deborah. Oryx is spelled O-R-Y-X. They are a beautiful animal. They're like a larger size antelope, but they got these long, straight, like two long, straight, like 3-4 foot horns. They're gorgeous. That's down there. These guys are a little bit boring. See if we can find something else. Let's go. African. Rosie's Pond. Rosie's Pan, sorry. Oh, hold on. What do we got happening at Rosie's Pan right now? Gotta get through the commercial first.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking
Holy
about
cow,
it.
let's just
Meet
get to
Base
it.
44.
Skip. Oh, it changed a little bit. No elephants around. Sure, something's around. Last time I watched this, there was like a elephants all around here, and there was a hippo in the water there. I don't know how a hippo had found that area, but it did. It totally did. Okay, Rosie's Pan isn't really working right now. Let's go somewhere else. Oh, let's see here. Nothing happening there. Oh, let's see the Tembe. We should get some elephants here. There they are. There they are. Look at that big guy. Oh, so beautiful. I'll just edit the show while you guys enjoy this. I don't know if there's any sound to this or not. Well, there is. Here's the elephant. Oh, there's one moving in the back, couple moving in the back over there. That's cool. Right now, I'm curious what the other channels will have. Let's go look. that's kind of boring. Anything happening here? This is a new one. I've never seen this one. Oh, don't see anything there. Oh, there's living out. You know that's filled with alligators. You don't swim there. You don't swim. Oh. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, I'm totally curious. And no, that's not my nose. For once. Oh, good, they're moving the camera. Whatever that is, that sounds big. I don't think it's that vehicle, though. That shifted. All right, we're going to have to keep an eye on that channel. Okay, Tau is nothing. Oliphants River.
Getting the HPV vaccine when you're young.
Quiet down. We don't need to worry about that crap. I still have not bared down and got the YouTube membership yet, so that way I could get commercial free. What do we got happening here? Look, they're gugways. Little gugways. Oh, yeah, this is just the highlight reel. That's nice. That's very nice. I don't want a highlight reel. I want what's live now. All right, let's go here. What's going to happen here? That's cool. Come on, where's the zebra migration? Where's the Brits say zebra? Rhymes with Deborah. Deboruni and Zebaroonies. I hear people making a fence. Let's go back to another one here. Nothing happening there. Well, still have the wildebeest there. Seriously. Don't want the chat room. Oh, it froze. See, there's an oryx, Deb. See the oryx in the... There's the oryx right in front. The camera's frozen here. There it goes. Now it's back. I wonder what that guy's doing down on the right-hand corner. We're surrounding the oryx. Maybe not. Wildebeest are sure not pretty animals. But they do have nice manes. Look at that oryx. Gorgeous. Matt Geek, how you doing? Piss them deer off. Birds off. All right, guys, I am going to head off to bed because I do have to work in the morning. So I'm going to head off to bed. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you to Deborah Rooney, Kmart, Vaughn ×2, Area 54, and Lil Cam for the super chats. I Dry Toast, best name in YouTube land. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to all of you. I'll be back on Monday. Our guest will be Holly Burns. We're going to talk spirits and ET and Sasquatch. It's going to be a fun show. Totally fun show. I will see you all on Monday night. Have a safe weekend, everybody. I love you all, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.